With us in studio live is indie rap's international man of mystery, Henry Canyons.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? Nice intro, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's not done. I'm gonna keep going for you. Brooklyn-based rapper. A lot of you guys know him from his work on Backwoodz Studioz, Cool Side of the Pillow, Hijinks, and he's got a new project coming out this Friday, Valentine's Day.
Yes.
Educated Guesses with producer Fresh Kils coming out on URBNET. So thanks for stopping by.
Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Yeah, so I think my first question is, we haven't heard a full project from you, Hijinks being a duo set, full solo project from you since 2018. So I guess my first question is, where have you been?
Where have I been? I've been managing just some life decisions, and I moved back to New York after 10 years in LA and 15 years on the West Coast. And COVID forced me to reevaluate some things professionally as well, and kind of went back into thinking what kind of lifestyle I was looking to have and the kind of work I wanted to do outside of music. And so I shifted careers and steps completely, and kind of delved into that process and let that kind of carry me to a point where it felt stable, and then was ready to kind of take music back in a serious way and kind of have it play more of a role that I was ready to embrace again.
Was there a particular moment where you sort of realized that you were going to make a new project again as you were dipping your kind of toe back into this? Was there like a particular moment, particular song, a beat you heard, something that made you go like, I need to do this again and put out something substantial?
Well, to be honest, a lot of the stuff that this record, like a lot of the songs of this record, a lot of it was done.
Okay.
And we were holding on to it and looking for the right time to kind of share it and let it out. And again, my priorities were shifted on, I went back to school and started, just really focusing on that decision at the time. And so it didn't really, like the stars just didn't really align.
Okay.
And when I was talking with Kils about it, not that long ago, probably like 8 months ago, something like that, I was like, I'm feeling good. Like I'm ready to like put the final touches on things and more, put it out and get the post-production stuff locked in.
Right.
And so, yeah, that's when we shared it with the people at URBNET, who were super supportive and down with it. So it worked out, and it's coming out on Friday. So
Which is crazy.
yeah,
It's like happening.
it's happening. It's happening, and it's surreal for me to say that it's happening.
Yeah.
But I'm excited. I'm excited to let it out and keep the ball rolling on just doing shows and spreading the record out there.
I'm pretty sure the first time I saw you live was in some configuration like that.
Yeah,
It was like
yeah,
you
yeah.
and Dunce and Googie. I feel like it might have been Gold Sounds. Or
Yeah, it was probably Gold Sounds.
Yeah.
That's kind of been a place that I've frequented when I would visit. But now, I've been here 5 years now, so
Yeah.
time flies.
You're from here, yeah?
I'm from here, yeah.
You're a Brooklyn native?
I'm a Brooklyn native.
Love
yeah.
it. Queens native, so I see a lot of mutual respect. A lot of people come here, but not from here, so I appreciate
That's true.
you
That's
talking
true.
from
That's
here.
true. And it's been surreal getting to be a resident here again. Like I left when I was 18. Now I was gone for over 15 years, and so like really being back, living in New York, and I moved back a month before COVID. So like everything kind of just froze and then also changed dramatically kind of at the same time. It's really hard to know how that all happened, but at least for me, like parts of the city feel like they never really changed, and then other parts of the city feel completely foreign. And so my experience being back in the city has been, one of kind of reconnecting with friends and family and being back and just what it is to be in this kind of grind versus the LA grind, which is a grind in itself, but very different.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Did you not feel much in terms of the musical way when you were out there in LA? I mean, obviously LA is such a musical city.
For sure.
Like, was it sort of, did you feel, I mean, I guess my question is like, being somebody who's from here and kind of the way in which you write, like how does being in LA versus being in New York affect the way in which you write or your inspirations towards writing?
I think for me it was like, at the time I moved to LA, which was in 2010. I knew a few, but not that many other rappers and artists from New York at the time. And the reason I went there were friends of mine were from there. So we, and it was easier to kind of tap into my New York aesthetic and voice and kind of style of rapping that kind of fit with a lot of the producers I found while I was out there. And then that kind of made its own thing happen for me in terms of like, I really write from the point of view of just trying to figure life out.
Yeah.
And so that was my experience of trying to figure out that move and adapting to that city and kind of understanding what living in that city was. And also doing it young in my 20s, not really knowing many people outside of that small group of other rappers and, then actually building a life there. Sure. So, in terms of my writing style, it always gravitates around the beat. Yeah. Like the beat sparks everything. And so, I was writing about my experience in LA with often, if I'm going to generalize, more boom bap, East Coast sounding beats rather than kind of, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. You weren't over that mustard production, I think.
No.
No. But thematically, a sense of place is something that carries into a lot of your material. And obviously, on Educated Guesses, there's a number of songs that do that as well. From Here, for example, Been Around the World. I mean, those are probably some of the more overt moments that really we're talking about sense of place and idea of travel and belonging and whatnot. Why do these themes in particular appeal to you so much?
I feel like I'm a product of where I am at the time. And, growing up here, my family, my mom's French. So I've always been privy and, encouraged to travel, visit family, and it kind of opened things up for me early on. And I was lucky to have that experience. And, when you're from New York, you don't really realize how from New York you are until people tell you that you're from New York.
100%.
And so it's like when you then leave and then you're like, oh shit, you're from New York. It's like, oh wow, I didn't even realize it because it was just home. It was just natural. It was just like my life, Right. And then you start to tap it. Well, this isn't New York. It was a very profound kind of all sensory experience where it's like what you're seeing, what you're hearing, what you're smelling, what you're tasting. It's just not. It's very of the place.
Right.
And so when I was in LA, and I would tell people this all the time, and it's still my piece of advice for anyone considering moving to LA: spend as much time there as you can before you move there.
Yeah.
Because very little is on face value, is on the surface. It takes time to uncover it, and it feels like a vacation when you visit.
Right.
New York, you know whether you like it or you're not because it hits you in the face, and everything is direct. And so things are way more subtle and a little subversive in trying to figure it out in LA. So that was something for just like my personality and just like understanding who I was becoming had a lot to do with navigating through that experience, which was very different than growing up here. So I think, being of the place and location and where I am and where I'm writing are extremely influential on what comes to mind and topically and just what I'm writing about, because it's how I'm sifting through the experience that I'm feeling while I'm listening to the beat.
Right.
Yeah.
That totally makes sense.
Yeah.
And you got some great guests on this project.
I
A
do.
lot of friends of Cabbages, a lot of friends of yours.
Yes.
We got some mutuals in here. Shrapnel Fellas, Solemn Brigham,
Yep.
Mike Ladd, some great people. How did they get involved? What stage in the process of this do they get involved? Are these kind of, you talk about this material being some of it in kind of pre-production or sort of in some other phase before. How do you get, like, when do Prem and Castro get involved?
Prem and Castro got involved probably in the latter stages, I would say. I was touring in 2019 before COVID. That's when I met Mike Ladd, and so I stayed out there. I was in France for a bit at the after tour, and I hit him up, and he's super kind, warm, very inviting dude, and got to chill in his studio and threw some stuff back and forth, and he jumped on it, and the project was. There were songs done, but it hadn't come together and materialized what it was really going to be yet.
Okay.
So that's when he got involved. Solemn, I was a fan of the Marlowe stuff.
It's great stuff.
Yeah, and through Kils, we kind of just like threw some paint against the wall, and it stuck. And he, I'm excited for people to hear that. He murdered it and added a lot to the song, so I'm looking forward for that. And Shrapnel came through. I mean, it was very casual for me to just ask Prem. I mean, that's my guy. I've known him for years and years. We've toured many times together. So I asked him if they would be down, and they obliged, and it happened pretty quickly. But I would say towards the latter half, where I was like, had some beats, some things that I wanted to wrap up, a song or two that I wanted to get done, and threw them the beat, and they were into it, so we made it into we just wrapped the song.
Can't help but notice that this Friday is also Valentine's Day. Is there any significance to why this project's dropping on the most romantic day of the year?
Pure coincidence. Love is always in the air. It just happened to work out to get the album out and vinyl and everything going so that it was in hand for the show.
Sure, of course.
And just like logistically, the date made sense. And yeah, show some love.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Any love songs in the mix? Any bars we may have missed?
There's some songs about some relationships at the beginning of, or well, I should say like 2018, 2019 related stuff.
Got it.
2022 as well. 2020 as well, I should say. Sprinkled in there. About love per se, would they be very excited to hear it? Probably not.
Fair.
But you know, it's part of the process, I guess.
Yeah. Getting back to Show and Tell for a sec.
Yeah.
During the break, we were talking a bit about this. They're like, that's the first track, and there's something about the way in which that song kind of builds to its hook and then into the first verse. We were talking about sequencing. So, like, this is one that you were advocating for being at the beginning of it. Why is that?
Yeah. I think the mood of the song and kind of just the vibe of the record in general kind of just grabs. It grabs your attention. It kind of tells you that I'm here and that it's going to be a record to kind of dive into. And it starts off with something to dive into from my opinion. And so, you know, I was saying when we were talking about sequencing, it's like, it's interesting. It's there's no right or wrong answer, but certain things just feel right. And so it's like playing things together and sequencing and trying this and trying that is one thing, especially if it's a solo record. But when it's a record with one producer, you know, everyone has different stakes in the game and trying to have their character and their story also kind of come across as well, and what kinds of things they want people to discover later in digging into the record. And you know, unfortunately on DSPs and stuff, the earlier songs get more shine, and so that may have been a consideration But for me, starting this record with this song was more of just like, I wanted the record to come off with a kind of a little bit of a bang, as far as I feel, and like show a little bit of the range in terms of the production. There's some acoustic elements, which Fresh Kils played all himself, and a little bit more melodic, and also a little bit more, the structure of the song has different pieces with a little bit of a bridge and things of that nature. So I wanted to kind of just put all of that out there first. And then, when you're when you're listening through a record and there's things that bang, you're going to listen to them. But things that sometimes take more attention, more patience, depending on the mood you're in, depending on the time you're listening to the record, they don't hit the same way.
No, that's fair.
So, I wanted to get this one out front and kind of set the tone with this one.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's something where I'm always interested in talking about sequencing, because I know that these can be very painstaking processes, especially when you have a collaborator.
Yeah.
So we talked about Fresh Kils sort of around him, but we haven't really talked too much about working with him.
Let's talk about it.
I'm curious because, like, as you said earlier, these songs existed in some form, and then there's this break. And then you guys, 6-8 months ago, you start to go back to this material. So what was it that you've learned kind of about yourself and the creative process, the way you write and the way you create, by working on this with Fresh Kils, particularly?
Well, Kils is a beast. He pumps out, he works constantly. And he's an MPC kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? He's an MPC, like very gifted virtuoso. And so he samples all kinds of things, including friends of his in his group and other musicians and himself and all kinds of things, and chops it up. And so I just listened to things that called me, and then I wrote them. The majority of the record was recorded in Toronto at his place, at his studio, when I was there at the end of 2018. And the majority was recorded then. And yeah, I wrote probably 3 or 4 of those songs there as well in that 4-day period. So what did I learn about myself? I wouldn't say compromise. Parts of it are compromise, but in terms of like really listening to someone else's instincts and in their own expertise, specifically like when we were recording things, different kind of approaches to kind of, he's an excellent engineer as well. So listening to some instruction on different punching techniques and things like that. As for the writing and selection part of the process, he advocated for some beats where he was like, put this on there, put this on there. But again, he has so many beats and he constantly churns things out that he's excited about. So he was open to the things that kind of I naturally gravitated to. And it was a very smooth process.
Were there anything that, and given kind of the nature of this, was there anything that didn't make it onto the project that you guys had been working on? Any things that you went back to and just said didn't fit with what you were doing?
Yeah, 1 or 2 didn't make it. One was like a sample issue where it was like just too, it just didn't work out. And then another one where we just felt like it didn't fit.
Yeah.
And more just like trying to keep it lean.
Yeah, you're at like 31 minutes, I think, by the end of it, right?
Yeah, over 8 songs.
Yeah.
So the songs are a little longer, but the project is, it's not that long either. So, yeah.
There's one guest that I was surprised not to see on here, given your last project with Backwoodz, is Googie.
Yes.
And Hijinks is a personal favorite record of mine.
Thank you.
Of Jeff's as well. we absolutely just talked about this project before we came through. You know, you guys, and especially now, kind of like the way Backwoodz has kind of gone. There's been these sort of duos that have come out through there. Obviously, Arm & Hammer, what's happening with the Shrapnel guys. Obviously, everything with them blowing up, and like you and Googie are another, to me, like one of those kind of like Backwoodz duos, or those dynamic duos, if you will. Do you see yourself doing a sequel or doing another full project with him? Like,
I would love to. Again, I'm kind of getting back in the saddle writing more. Like a lot of wrapping this project was more post-production stuff than actually like a lot of tackling and writing new material. I would love to. We had a lot of fun doing it.
Sound like it.
It didn't work out for this record in the sense where a lot of what happened with the hijinks was actually after this project. And yeah, I mean, that's my guy. We have a great time when we hang out. And so, yeah, I'm going to see him on Tuesday, and we'll probably do 1 or 2 joints from the record and yeah, get things going again.